Well, hello there, my fellow miners and crafters. GoodTimesWithScar here, bringing you another StudTech episode. And in today's StudTech episode, we finally put all the finishing touches on our barracks house with all sorts of fine and small details alike. So let's get this episode underway. Alright, and welcome back to Scott Valley here, where we've been building our super awesome fort. And as you can see, we've got some tremendous progress all built up and ready to go, and we'll finally finish all of our exterior details today on our barracks house. But we need to start out over here in Scott's carpentry headquarters, which has expanded recently. We've got all sorts of Java barrels all set up around here, and these things are amazing. So what you can do here is you can, the base model of a Java barrel can hold 64 stacks, so it's absolutely amazing. Look at this. We can just grab them out of there. Look at that. Wait, were we actually grabbing anything? No, there we go. And then we can kind of set it back in there, grab it out. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I love it. Then we've got our chests over here brimming full of all sorts of good stuff. So we're all set up and ready to go, but we need to grab a couple things here. We need to grab a stack of you and a stack of you. Perfect, beautiful. And then we'll grab that out of there, and then we'll just get a couple of those. Let's see, let's actually work with about 20 because we may need some of those in the future. So then once we're done, just stick them back in the barrel. Easy as can be. All right, so then we'll sneak on over here, grab ourselves a stack of that, and go to our crafting bench here. And then let's see, what was the recipe? I think it's, yes, perfect. I remember that. Perfect. And then we can swoop that across there, place that in the center, give ourselves some of those. Looking good, looking good. Grab that back out. Nice. And then we can bring this across here. Now you might be wondering, oh, Scott, what are you working on? That is the question. I have a pretty cool idea for a chimney design, so I'm really excited about that. There we go. We got that all set up and ready to go. So let's move on back into the headquarters of our fort, looking super fancy here with all sorts of amazing details all built up and ready to go. But let's head up to the very top, and that's where we're going to be working today for the start here. We're going to be working at the very top here, and we're going to be starting to add some of the chimneys. So let's get up here. There we go. Awesome. And then we'll sneak on up here. Now, the first thing we're going to do here, we're going to pick out some stone. So let's go into our stone bag here. And then let's see, let's get a little bit of you and a little bit of you. And of course, a little bit of you and maybe a little bit of that. Awesome. All right. And I'll move that real quick. Beautiful. Okay, so now what we need to decide is where we're going to place it. And I think I'm going to place it along this line right here. So I'm going to remove a couple of these blocks right here. There we go. And then I'm going to knock that out of there. And I'm going to start to arrange some of these. So I'm going to put that one like that. Now I want some of these blocks to be kind of staggered. Now that one's actually not going to be able to be seen. And let me go into my carpenter's bag and grab out some of those wedges. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then, you know what, I think I'm actually going to bring this up one more block. There we go. That's going to look nice. And then I'll sneak one of these guys on the back. And then I'm going to put one more of these in the center. There we go. Looking good. And then I'm going to put a wedges along here. There we go. Looking fancy. And then we just got to, I don't want it to be exactly the same. Trying to kind of mix it up a little bit with the stones. I think I'm going to probably go with this one at the top, like there. Nice, nice. I like that. And then for this one, I think I'm going to do a nice smooth one. And now for the finishing touch. Place that on top. And isn't that the most amazing fireplace ever? What this kind of looks like is the inner lining of a chimney. So the inner lining of the chimney usually is kind of made up of some type of a metal or something, and then surrounded by, some type of brick or stone or something along those lines. And there we go, looking super fancy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to space this out. We're going to sneak ourselves on over here, and then we're going to do another one right here. There we go. We're just going to knock out those blocks like so. Okay. And then remove those out of the way for now. I'm going to place one over there, and I'm going to place one right there. Looking good. And then, of course, we're going to stick one of these over here, and then I want to mix up this side so it's not identical. There we go. And then you guessed it, we're going to take out our wedges like so, and then place those on the sides. There we go, looking good. And then we can kind of leave that block there. I don't see any problem with that. There we go. And then let's see, let's actually do this one over here. Let's do this one. Nice, nice, looking good. Is that just the standard Minecraft brick? I believe it actually is, but I don't mind it too much. I don't mind it. It keep things mixed up and original. Here we go, looking good. And then replace one of those guys right there. And of course, if we see one of these that looks a little odd next to each other, we can always swap it out for something else. Super easy to do. and looking awesome. That is looking really cool. So then what we could do is move on over here. Let's see, this is spaced out by 1 block on this side, and then we can come over to this one right here and then start to work on that pattern once again. So I'll continue to work over here, and I'll see you in just a minute. All right, and welcome back, and take a look at those super awesome chimneys up on our roof. Let me know what you think about them. I think they look pretty good. One thing I've done is I've moved the center ones 1 block inward towards the windows. They were a little bit close, so I just took them and just moved them over 1 block closer. They just looked a little too close together, so just a slight modification, but other than that, looking super fancy. So we'll shoot up here. A lot easier just to use ender pearls. All right, but I don't have a ton of them, but I know Wells has set up an ender farm, so maybe we can buy some from him eventually. All right, so now we're way up here, so we're gonna make a couple modifications to the upper level up here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into our carpenter's backpack, and we're going to grab out a stack of those. Why don't we grab out 2 just to be safe? There we go. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to place these along here, looking super fancy. And we're just going to, yes, Wells, I am recording. Yes, Wells. All right, there we go. And then we're just going to run these along here. There we go. Looking good, looking good. There we go. Awesome. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab out a stack of you and move you for now and grab ourselves a hammer. Awesome. And then we're going to give those a couple bangs on the top there. Boom, bada, bam. There we go. Looking good, looking good. And then just give those a couple more hits. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of soften the, the logs. As you know, we've worked on adding these logs going across here, but adding these, half slabs of the logs across here is just going to give this section just a little bit more of a kind of a gradual increase in the slope. So I think it'll look pretty nice. Another great thing we're going to be able to do with these carpenter's blocks over the micro blocks is we're going to be able to apply some of the glow dust to it, so we can also light up this section of the roof, which will be nice. Now from here, we're going to take some micro blocks on the plane of the the wall going across here. We're going to do some nice little details along there, which will look really cool. All right, put those along there. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Awesome, love it. Okay, so good. We got that all settled and ready to go. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to apply a little bit of scaffolding here. So we're just trying to apply some of these extra little details. See how that looks nice? How that adds just a little more detail. It might be a little hard to see with the blinding shaders, but eventually when the sun sets, we'll take a better look. All right, so now we're going to work our way over here. Awesome, so good, okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to clear our inventory and get as many of these out as possible. Move that out of the way. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these, if we can get them in the right orientation, there we go, and we're going to line these up along here. So these are just giving us a little extra detail on this blank wall. So this wall is quite boring and bland. See how we applied these dark oak texture blocks across here, which look nice, but this wall needs more. So that's where we're going to apply these strips going across here. And then we're going to bring these all the way up. Okay, and then eventually we're going to add some thicker ones at the top. And I'm just going to use some carpenter's blocks for some scaffolding, which, really aren't that bad for scaffolding because they're easily broken. There we go. Awesome. Looking good. Looking good. There we go. Bring those across there. Almost across. There we go. Get those across here. And then, whoop, oh my. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So, hey, Wells, hold on, Wells. I can't talk yet. I'm going to fall off the scaffolding and break my leg. All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to decide where I want to place these. And I think I'm going to go somewhere like right here. I'm going to go right. Can't get quite down there yet. So let's go like this. There we go. Awesome. There we go. And then let's sneak on over here and try to keep these in the same line. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll run on over here in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll bring these up here like this. Nice. There we go. And there we go. We can say hi to Wells. There we go. All right. Didn't want to fall off and break my leg. That would be no fun. Yes, Wells. We've established I'm recording. All right. There we go. And then let's see, I think I'm going to go right here along this section here. There we go. Awesome. All right, and then from here, I'm gonna go upwards. So go like this. Nice, nice, nice. Now, like we've talked about prior, these areas, what we're kind of working on right now, you can't quite do in vanilla, but like I've been talking about is the amazing creativity of you guys coming with some just really cool ideas to kind of make this in, a survival world. And it's really cool. Some of the stuff you can kind of do. You can take some half slabs, some stairs, and create some of the small detail, but some of it, unfortunately can't do all of it, but a lot of it you can. The basic shapes of the house is similar to something you could do in survival, and you guys have, which has been really cool to see. All right, there we go. Looking good. I just want to add those as just a slight color change. Let's jump down here and kind of see it. Yeah, that looks good. I like that. That looks nice. We can kind of decide if we want those oak strips along there, but just adding that extra little detail across there looks pretty nice. All right, so I'm gonna go work on the other side and I'll see you in just a minute. All right, and welcome back. So we finished up this side complete over here, and now we have a little bit more to do on the other side. So I got this area all ready to go. I put little half slab logs along that corner there, and then ran this pillar across here and then connected that log to there. We still need to add a little banister going across here, but I still need to jump across there, so we don't quite have that yet. All right, so let's sneak on across here. And as you can see, we've started to get this almost complete over here. We've got that all looking good up there. So let's jump on down here and flow on up here. Looking good, looking good. And it's super exciting. We have almost got all the details across here. And I think they're starting to look good. We've got lots of fun details. That's what I wanted for this house was, to start with kind of the basic shapes. When I looked up a lot of, different barrack designs and different things like that, these kind of post houses where the commander lived, and then within there they had, some business things, some barracks, some different things within these buildings. And let me jump over here for now, and just to give a quick check right across there. There we go. So the houses were kind of boxy like this. But there was a surprising amount of detail, even for frontier. Oh, we need to move that up one. Even for frontier style outposts like we're building, even though they're way out in the frontiers, they were still. Let me jump up here. Oh, of course we've fallen. Of course we've fallen. But like I was saying, it's. Let me jump up here. There we go. Awesome. All right. So, like I was saying, it took me a second there. Even though they were out in the frontier, they were still highly detailed buildings. Lots of little detail, even though they, of course, are built with logs and different things like that. They still had lots of nice little things. All right, that's looking good. That's looking good. So now let's float on down with ease. There we go. Put that up there. There we go. Looking good. All right, so now we just put these panels across here. And let me swap out my stake for some scaffolding. And I kind of like carpenter's blocks for scaffolding. I'm kind of giving it a shot here. It actually works out pretty good. We don't always have to get out the shovel. The carpenter's blocks aren't too expensive to make, just, some sticks and some wood. So it's not too bad if we lose any. So that's kind of nice. There we go. Awesome. And then you can just kind of bounce right back up. But I don't know. I've really, really, really had fun building this house. Like it's just been a little bit different, kind of working with, the micro blocks. And then, of course, we've worked with the carpenter's blocks before in the previous season of StudTech. But it was fun to kind of work on some other stuff with it. And now for the interior, of course, we have got some really exciting things planned for in there. There is a mod, which I always seem to forget the name of it, of course, but it has the ability to add some grandfather clocks, some really cool and intricate shelving things. Oh, I'm really excited for it. I think you guys are going to love it, and we're going to be able to bring that into there. The Chisel Mod 2 has carpet, which is really, really cool. So there's some carpet options that we could do for the interior. Yeah, so I'm excited. I think you guys are gonna really like some of the molding that I have an idea for, and of course the different designs as we go. So as you know, we usually like to do in our builds some of the room's windows later on. So that's kind of what we're gonna work on now. Is these big blank expanses of walls across here will eventually be carved in windows. Eventually we'll get our windows carved in there, but for now we're going to leave them blank till we decide which room is which and start to get that all situated. All right, so I'm just going to continue to work on these panels, and I'll see you in just a couple minutes. All right, and welcome back. So now we're going to go into Scar's experimental design show where we have no idea what the outcome will be. That totally should be a new series of mine, Scar's experimental design show where we have no idea what we're going to do. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to chop out some of this right here. We're going to try something that I've wanted to do in Minecraft for a very long time but have not succeeded in. So let me jump over here. Let me swap into my other bar. And as you can see, I've made quite a few micro blocks of a variety of different stones and sizes. So what we're going to start here is we're just going to grab ourselves some blocks here. Let's start with this guy. And we're going to start to kind of build up some design here. Now, the design we're trying to do here is kind of a river rock design. So we're trying to get some blocks up here that have kind of that river rock feel. So something like, you'd find in, of course, a river after all. So it's a design you would find more in, kind of a Western design, kind of out in the thick of it. All right. So we're just trying to create that feeling that there's a lot of rocks kind of piled up here and then mortared together. And, you'd see this a lot in craftsman style houses. So we're trying to get that feel. It's actually, like I've always talked about, is my favorite design style. And trying to get that particular design in Minecraft is always difficult. So that's why I was trying, I'm just trying. We're just seeing if this may or may not work. Now we don't want, of course, this to look like, that's, oh, there we go. That looks nice. So something you'd find is they would usually start with a bigger rock at the bottom and then of course work their way up to smaller rocks. So you try to kind of get the bigger rocks down here. And then let's see, we can kind of thicken, some of this up down here a little bit. I don't know. We're just trying. We're just trying things. We're seeing if it'll work or not. Who knows? Maybe it won't. Maybe it will. Who knows? But at least we tried. And we're trying to see if we can just, get a little extra design in here. Just mix it up a little bit. Try something different. As you can see, you just try to find the kind of a variety of different shapes, sizes, and colors. And then try to kind of work them into the design here. I think I have about 3 different stone types. There we go. And then let me find this port right here. And then we can kind of thicken that up if we need be. So as you can see, we just kind of slowly kind of added, more and more brick. One thing you'll find is usually around a pillar, they would, bring up the rock a little bit higher around that said pillar. All right, there we go. Awesome. And then we'll put that down right there. And then you can just see how you kind of just stagger them around the outside of this pillar because see how it kind of wraps around there. And that's what I want. That's kind of the design I want. Oh, I think that's pretty good. I think that is starting to work. So give me some feedback as we kind of work our way across here. And let me know what you think of this design or if there's any other rock variants or other ways to improve this. Now, there is that other mod in here that I always forget the name of, which I've said about 100 times today. That mod will allow us to have the ability. Oh, I wish that could sit, flat on the. Let's see if I can do that. No, it won't let me, unfortunately. It will allow us to really chisel down blocks, but I didn't need to go into that detail. So that's why we're just going to work with some of the micro blocks at the moment. But, for the most part, this is kind of working out how I wanted. So Scar's experimental design show has had some success today, hopefully. Well, I mean, you guys are the end judge if it's successful or not, but at least at this point, I'm liking it. And I almost think having even a little bit of wood showing through these slats might even look pretty cool. But yeah, let me kind of continue to refine this and I'll catch you in a couple minutes. All right, and welcome back. And I just spent about 20 minutes kind of refining and finding the flow that I want from this. And I've got a couple of changes here. So the first thing I did was I actually removed some of the blocks and added some solid, standard big thick blocks along here. And then from that, I worked out with some of the smaller ones. So and then got a little bit smaller as we went up and then tried to pile up as many rocks around each pillar. That was kind of the design that we were trying to go for. And I think applying some of these bigger stones in the inner section of it is looking pretty darn awesome. And it's starting to get that kind of feel that we were trying to achieve. All right, so let's fly on over here. And now kind of over here is kind of a, it's kind of like, how do I want to do this up here? Maybe something like this. Try to work this area up a little bit. Sometimes you can start to add too many of the same rock pieces to there, so you don't want to quite do that. But so something kind of like that, and then we can move over to the other side over here, and then kind of work on adding some bigger sections, kind of like so. Never trying to keep the best you can, to keeping it as random feeling as possible. I mean, sometimes you just can't quite get it. Like this block, that was looking a little funny. We want to make sure that's applied to the ground. There we go, looking good. So then we kind of work it on like that. And it appears to be the thunder is starting, so I better be pretty careful in case the power goes out. We've been waiting on a big thunderstorm all day today, and it sounds like that thunderstorm has finally arrived. All right, so I'm going to try to finish this up as fast as possible because I don't want to lose this recordings over a power loss. So I'm going to try to finish this up as fast as possible. Do you live where there's a lot of thunder? We don't actually. It's kind of rare when there's actually a lot of thunder where we live. But when it is, we usually sometimes do lose power. We've lost it during live streams before. All right, there we go. And then put that along there. And then slowly apply some of these sections across here. Nice. That's what I want. There we go. Nice. That's looking awesome. So much different and fun to kind of experiment with different blocks like this. And there we go, guys. I can't thank you enough for watching today. And hopefully you enjoyed this and was inspired to try something new and different in your world like we did today with some of these blocks. Now I'll apply that section down there soon. I just want to get going because of the lightning. But yeah, definitely give me some feedback on what you think of this. And yeah, so until next time, this has been Good Times with Scar, and I always really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos. And if you believe you were rating, that would be much appreciated. And until next time, we'll see you later. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to bring these across. Now, I chose these particular planks out of all the other different wood planks within the chisel mod because it has this nice smooth strip across here. As you can see, it's nice and clean across there. Now, I would like something a little bit cleaner on the top, but this will work. This will work fine. And then I'm going to take these planks similar to what we had before, or the similar style, but this, of course, is oak. And then we're going to place those down below, and then we're going to bring those in the center like that. Now, there's a lot of other choices for these particular, these posts that we're building at the moment.